Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Paula Norbom, who is the founder and CEO of Talencio. Paula, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure. I'm excited to chat with you.
That's great. Would you like to just kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Sure. So I started my career in accounting. I was a CPA, and then I migrated into several different manufacturing companies, a biotech company, and eventually into the medical device industry. That's not the career I'm in right now. So the career I'm in right now is with Talencio. We're a staffing and recruiting firm that I founded about 17 years ago. And we focus specifically on the health technology industry.
Okay, so you're in accounting, you're working for
Mhm.
all these big companies. What was the spark that made you decide to start up your own firm and talent finding agency too?
Yes. So I am entrepreneurial to begin with, and I'm a driver. And you don't really think about that when you think about an accounting executive. You think they're more analytical and maybe not. They're driven. Some of them are driven, but I was very driven and had this entrepreneurial streak in me. So there's a number of factors that led to it. And one is I had left a job after doing an IPO, and I realized I'm not a public company CFO. But I love the health technology industry, which I had been in. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit. I found the medical device industry 15 years into my career. And it was at that time where I felt like these are my people. And so I had left a job after doing an IPO in 2006 and decided to do some fractional CFO work for medical device startup companies. And it was while I was doing that that I thought, I have some other gifts or other assets that I've developed over time. And I wonder if I could take all of this and instead of me doing all the delivering of the work, I could bring others around me to help deliver on the promise to help our clients meet their goals. So some of those things that I leveraged were networking. So in 2000, I started networking extensively. And being the accountant that I was, I wanted to keep it all organized. And Excel just wasn't quite the dynamic software that I needed to manage the network. And so I bought a CRM at back in the day, and that was really unusual for a single person to be buying a CRM for the purpose of just keeping my network manageable. So I did that. And then I also leveraged my experience using contractors and consultants.
Mhm.
I had used probably hundreds of them by this time, and mainly because I'd done the IPO and I needed to beef up my accounting team so that we could hit our targeted date for the IPO. I also worked for a company in the mid 1990s that we needed to use contractors because we had just gone in onto a new ERP system and it was failing. It just was not as robust as we had hoped. And just was not churning through the data fast enough. So we had to hire probably about 100 contractors to input sales orders. We had piles and piles of these sales orders. So the contractors got us through that challenge. And so I'm leveraging my knowledge of contractors and consultants, my accounting background, my network. By this time, my network was thousands of people, and the fact that I had been a medical device executive. So I knew the industry. And that's how I started. So it's just, you hang your shingle out one day and you're like, okay, I'm going to go. We're going to make this happen. So I did individual consulting at the time. So I was the CFO and I had one client, and then I was getting the company launched at the same time. So I had an income, so to speak, while I was getting things launched.
Oh, that's good. And I can tell you, ERP implementations can be very, very rough because, the value of what they deliver requires you to have the data in the right slots, and sometimes that's a bit of a challenge.
It was.
So, talk to us about starting up your business, right? What were some of the skills that you learned early on that you didn't realize you needed to know when you were kind of getting your business up and off the ground?
Oh boy. Um, the main challenge I had in getting my business off the ground was sales. I had the background in accounting and operations. I understood computer systems and software and all that because I also have a minor in computer science from back in the day. But I never took a sales class or even a marketing class, to my knowledge. So I had to beef that up. And the way that I did that was by finding some coaches, and several of these coaches are still around, but I would engage in their 3-month program and we'd meet once a week, or I would read a book like The Challenger Sale. I think I've been coached by probably about 4 or 5 different people over the years. But I think whatever you're not good at, recognize that and learn it. So selling is an art and a science. I learned that and I learned to love it. Um, but I'm also an introvert. So you think, well, most salespeople are extroverted. Um, but if I could have a formula to help me get through it, I could do it. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But there are many, many other things that I learned besides the fact that, recognize what you're not good at and get good at it. The other is to just work on exceeding your clients' expectations. And it's easy to say, well, I'm going to hang my shingle and I'm going to do this great work. But if you don't exceed your clients' expectations, they're not going to come back. And so we built a lot of our corporate values around that. So one is embracing servitude. So we're always trying to serve our client to the highest degree possible. We also aspire for excellence. And in whatever we do, we're going to do the right thing. So we might have a hard message to deliver. We're going to deliver it. So those are just 3 of the 4 values that we have. And the fourth one is just being intellectually curious. And then the next thing is hiring the right people. So you would think that it'd be easy for a staffing and recruiting firm to hire the right people, but it's one of the hardest things, especially for us. Um, and I think for me, because I'm a driver and I act fast, I have to slow down in terms of hiring the right people. You want to hire to their skills. You want to hire to your values, make sure there's alignment there. But I also think it's just getting a feel for the person's what motivates them. Do they have the right attitude for your organization? So some people are going to work and some aren't, and it's not, a good or bad thing. It could be a bad thing if you hire the wrong person, but it doesn't mean that person is bad. But get the right people for your organization because they will help to propel you forward. So I know the years where I felt like, wow, we've really grown. Those were the years we had people that were completely in sync and we were delivering for our clients.
Oh, that's good. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you about in your industry, what are the specific strategies you guys are using to remain innovative? Because I know there's a lot going on. So,
Yeah, so again, we're focused on the health technology space, and
mhm,
that includes medical device companies, biopharma, and digital health. And there are a lot of things that can happen when you're running a business, just unforeseen things and things you cannot control. Like we'll just take COVID, for instance, that impacted everybody. So in January and February of 2020, we decided that it's hard to sell staffing and recruiting services. It's not sexy. So we decided that let's pull together a breakfast roundtable once a month, and we'll bring executives into that roundtable to have a conversation. So we did that in January and February, and then we all went home in March. So we quickly pivoted so that uh, our March meeting was actually on Zoom. And we quickly pivoted and held that first meeting that March. And now, 5 years later, we've done 229 meetings. We've had almost 4,000 executives attend these meetings. And there's value for all parties. For us, it gives our potential clients the opportunity to get known like us. At the same time, we're giving back to the community because we're pulling people around a shared topic of interest. And they can come and talk with other executives around that topic. We will also bring subject matter experts to introduce the topic for the first 10 or 15 minutes so that drives further conversation and questions. And then each one of these executives has the opportunity to introduce themselves, their technology, their company, and make an ask of the rest of the group. So the point in making the ask is they can leverage the communal knowledge that we all have and then connect with each other afterwards to elevate technologies globally. So that I think is one of the most innovative things that we've done. And we have since launched another group called Health Tech Executive Career Catalyst for those who are executives who are looking to advance their careers or who are looking, maybe they're in a job transition. And so I moderate the first series of events that I talked with you about, and I also moderate the Career Catalyst event. And that is newer. We launched that, I think, in May of this year. The first event we called Serious Talent Chats, and it's had that name forever.
That's great because those numbers are really impressive, and to be doing it for over 5 years and building this network, right? That's really
Mm-hmm.
that is actually really a neat innovation in the space. So
Yeah,
would you
I love
mind
it.
offering us maybe a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
It's interesting because I have been in business for 17 years. And so I have been working now for decades. So I think about, okay, well, what's next? Well, what is next for Talencio is we are planning to continue to thrive and grow. We are also focused on partnerships. So where can we develop some meaningful partnerships? And we've got one in the works I cannot share yet, but probably by the end of January, I can share a little bit more about that. But it's leveraging other areas where maybe we're not as strong and other resources where we might not have as many resources. Say, for instance, if we need more experienced recruiters to help our clients. So we'll tap into the expertise of some other partners to be able to manage that. So that would be one of the things. We also recently started this year doing compensation consulting for our clients.
Hmm,
So we've tapped into, which is maybe a little more innovative, maybe not for a talent acquisition firm, but and the other thing I want to go back and mention, John, is because I have an accounting background, people think that we just provide accounting talent. We actually don't, that we provide very little accounting talent. It's a lot of what we do is clinical research, quality, regulatory affairs, engineering, marketing, sales, that type of thing, with some accounting and HR. Um, so I just want to clarify that. But we'll use our compensation benchmarking expertise. So we've licensed one of the top 5 softwares or benchmarking databases globally. And then we can tap into that database to make sure our clients are hiring people at market rates. And it's most of our clients are startups to mid-sized organizations, so they might not have access to that type of information. And we can provide it on a very economical platform for them, and as well as providing them advice while we're doing that. So those are
that's
some of the things we'll focus on.
and that's really a great complementary revenue stream. You know, we always talk about how do you build your revenues, right? Well, are there
Mhm.
products or services that you can offer to your existing clients so that you essentially are selling more to your existing clients? And that's a great example of that. So thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
So, knowing that this show is really targeted towards people that are going to be in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Boy, yes, I wish I knew what I know now before I started. But I've learned so much over the years, and I've got a number of things that I would love to share as it relates to that. And one is before you even start a business, or let's say you're contemplating a significant change in your business, get the facts first. I made 2 critical mistakes, or not early on even. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And had I just stopped and taken the time to get the facts and really evaluated it, I probably wouldn't have done it and would have saved me some time and money. At the same time, we did a lot of great things, but just get the facts. And here's another example. We've all seen the situation where you're driving around town and you see this restaurant that used to be on that corner is now out of business. And then 6 months later, another restaurant is on the corner. And a year later, they're out of business. Well, they probably didn't get the facts. And the fact is, there's a problem with that location. So be thinking about, what do I not know? What information do I need before I make an appointment decision? Then the other is to ask for wise counsel. And I recently did this with a friend. Um, I was contemplating something and it was really stressful for me and bothering me, and I just was not processing through it very well. So I shared it with a friend and she said, Paula, um, I just don't think you should do that. It's not your personality. And I thought, well, great, I mean, great, honest feedback. And I got exactly what she said, and it was done. I knew what decision I needed to make because she gave me wise counsel. So that's one example. And then set a goal for yourself. So you could start a business and you might say, well, I'm going to be a $10 million company in 5 years. Well, there's a lot of little goals that'll get you there. And it's good to have those big, hairy ass goals. But what are those little things that'll get you there? And if you don't meet the goal, have a plan for what's next. So that also brings up another one, which is plan for problems because they will happen. And I just thought, oh, just get over whatever. And some of them are pretty major issues, and a lot of them could be people issues. It could be an issue with the client. And, you've got to navigate through that. And I think some key words in my career, at least having Talencio, is be able to pivot, to always be pivoting. We had a majorly pivot during COVID. There are ups and downs in the economy. There's ups and downs in the job market that have impacted us. So at one point, when executive search was strong, then the contractor staff and staffing industry was weak and vice versa. So if you diversify your service offerings, keep them all true to what your underlying value is, but think about diversity. When one is strong, the other might be weak, and you'll be stronger for it. So plan for problems to the extent you can, and look at what you can control, and look at how you can be innovative when you can't control things. And I think another thing that I learned, and I wish I would have done this better to start with, is count the cost. So when you start a business, there's a cost in terms of time and money. There's a cost to your family, your friends, your partner, um, your energy. There's a big cost there. And are you willing to pay that cost for your organization? And when is enough enough? So I knew I was going to be putting in more than 40 hours of work a week for a long time. And I've been in business for 17 years, and it's just maybe the last year or two where if I go on vacation, yeah, I could probably get by a half hour to an hour focused on the business that day because I've got a really solid team backing me up. But do think about the cost because things might not work the way you want, and then do you have the support behind you to get through that? Face your fears. I had a fear of selling. We talked about that earlier,
We
and
did.
so I got the resources I needed, and I read and learned so that I could sell. And now I don't think twice about it. I still do I do a lot of research before I go to meet with a client one-on-one, whether I know them well or not, and make sure I've got everything buttoned down. But face your fears. Be courageous. That's another one. If you're not willing to have the courage and not willing to, it just takes guts sometimes. And
That's
it's not, it's
no, that's
not for
actually
the,
really good advice.
yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. And you got to stand there. You could be having a really, really bad year, and you got to watch your attitude because if you don't, that is going to roll off onto your team and your clients and all that. So to try to stay positive in the midst of, while you're being courageous, it can be really tough. And then I think the final thing that was really impactful for me, I had a good friend that invited me to his CEO roundtable group, and I joined at a time where I really needed them. And actually, every month I really need them. And even from month to month. I need them. And so I think when you're leading an organization and you're it, do you have other leaders that you can depend on and that have expertise that's different than yours is helpful because you look at different organizations and they might be really good at selling. Well, what can I learn from them? Or I might be really good at accounting and finance, and what can I help them with? And so collectively, we can support each other. So I think that is an absolute must.
Yeah, that's great. You know, we refer to those as mastermind groups sometimes. Some
Yes.
people refer to them as boards of directors, you know, but a lot of times when you're first getting started up, you need that mastermind group of people you can surround yourself with to help supplement your skills in all the
Right,
different areas.
exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today, Paula.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure, John.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, learning more about your journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.